mind. What, in terms of the detail that somebody is talking about, do you want to know, or do we need to think about? And then having heard what people say, try to think of a so what. What does that mean for what we do after this meeting? And then perhaps, now what? So people may go a little bit further in their conversation. Because what I really would like us to do at the end of the session is to put a couple of stakes in the ground about what it is we need to do next. So when you make an input later, try to avoid it being a long statement of what the problem is. Let's try to focus in those conversations on what is the things that we need to do to disrupt the status quo. Because clearly the role of healthcare graduates from whatever profession is part of the problem we're experiencing in the health system, and I suspect more severely for children. So the structure of the session is going to be that Laetitia Rispel will present for 20 minutes, and then each of the panelists will introduce themselves, and they will speak for 5 minutes in the initial input, just so that your voice can be as much a part of the conversation as theirs. So please allow us to finish all 5 presentations or inputs, and then we'll engage with robust conversation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to put my timer for 20 minutes. So if it goes off before I finish, then I haven't done a good job of setting an example of timekeeping. So I was asked by Widad and Hani to talk about human resources for health, universal health coverage, and what are the implications for health professional training to meet the needs of children. And it was only today that Minette told me that I didn't have to work so hard as she made me. So what I hope to do in the presentation is to bring together 3 strands. Firstly, the notion of universal health coverage. Secondly, child health indicators. I know you've heard a lot about mortality and morbidity in the last 2 days, so I won't bore you with a lot of detail. What I hope to do is just to really summarize the salient points, to talk a bit about human resources for health, and then to kind of hone in on the implications for training health workers to meet the health needs of children. So very briefly then, just so that we're all on the same page, a lot has been said about universal health coverage. So what is universal health coverage? It's a situation where all people are able to use quality health services that they need and do not suffer any financial hardship paying for such services. So in essence, universal health coverage brings together 2 elements. There's a public health component, which deals with, and I've put the emphasis on quality health services based on need, and it includes an appropriate mix of prevention, promotion, treatment, rehabilitation, and palliative care when needed, and also an economic concept of protection from severe financial hardship as a consequence of paying out of pocket for health services. So let's then, let me summarize just some of the information. So on this slide, it's under 5 infant and neonatal mortality rates for the period 2002 to 2015. And it combines 3 sets of data, combines data from Statistics South Africa, the vital registration, it combines data from the District Health Information System, and it also combines data from the Rapid Mortality Survey done by David Bradshaw and Dorrington and company. And as you can see, in essence, there's been, no matter which data set you use, there's been a reduction in under 5 and infant mortality rates. So you know that already. However, the neonatal mortality rate has remained fairly constant over the last number of years. here, although HIV appears to be a small component, remember the primary cause of death is listed on the death certificate, and so it's probably contributes to a bigger proportion of deaths. But the only thing I want to highlight here is that almost a third of under 5 mortality rate is due to neonatal disorders, and then also just from a public health point of view, ill-defined deaths are still quite a large proportion, almost 15%, and so it means we don't actually know what these babies died of from the nursery. Nosocomial infection, no accessible neonatal beds with a ventilator, and lack of interfacility transport. The healthcare provider factors are fetal distress not detected intrapartum, the delay in referring a patient for secondary or tertiary care, an inadequate management plan, and inadequate monitoring of the baby. And one that kind of straddles both, it's insufficient nurses on duty to manage the patient adequately. It's both a health system issue, but it's also a healthcare provider issue, because in some instances, it's what I call induced shortages with nurses doing moonlighting or doctors doing private practice, and or absenteeism, or simply being inefficiencies in existing allocation. And then, of course, another top 10 cause was the lack of transport from home to facility. So if we look at just other social determinants of child health, a report that's recently come out from the Institute of Child Health, the Child Health Gauge, highlights again that poor children bear the greatest burden of disease, and is made worse by poor healthcare access. They've shown that in 28% in the poorest 20% of households travel far to access health care versus only 7% of children in the richest 20% of households, and that in 2017, 2.3 million children, or 12% of the child population, lived in households where child health was reported. So it feels like a lot shorter than 20 minutes. Is it 20 minutes? Okay, so I probably forgot to change the timer, so thank you, Lionel. So 12 large, bad timing, yes, large disparities among provinces, with KwaZulu-Natal the highest reported child hunger, and there are also huge inequities by race. So if you look at 2.3 million children that lived in households where child hunger was reported, of that 2.3 million children, 2.2 million were African children who lived in households where hunger was reported. So then moving to human resources for health, I don't think I have to tell this audience about the importance of human resources for health, but perhaps just for completeness sake to reiterate that the people, healthcare workers, healthcare providers, are the personification of the health system's core values. And recent data show very clearly that the health workforce is actually a good investment, and that investment or investments in human resources for health have multiplier effects that enhance inclusive economic growth. Human resources are a prerequisite for universal health coverage, and generally there's very little that we can achieve without people. So this map shows you a map of global shortages, and we also know that there's a global shortage of health workers, and that the lack of skilled labor actually constrains job creation in many countries. But also important to note that South Africa is not on the list of countries with an acute shortage or a critical shortage of healthcare workers. We face a different set of problems, which I want to highlight in the next slide. And our workforce crisis is characterized by ineffective and suboptimal leadership, management, and governance, inequalities and maldistribution of health workers, both between the public and private health sectors, but also between urban and rural areas, both real staff shortages as well as induced staff shortages. And then of course also a crisis of unprofessional behavior, poor staff motivation, suboptimal performance, and unacceptable attitudes of health workers towards patients, especially poor patients, and then of course an inadequate human resources information system. So coming then to health professional education, I'm sure many of you are aware of the report, the asset report, the report of the Academy of Science of South Africa that came out earlier this year, which if you haven't seen it, is worthwhile reading it if you're interested in health professional education. They point out that we have excellent education and training, but that it's marred by fragmentation, weak coordination, and poor governance. They also show that around 12 billion rand is spent annually on health sciences education, but from very fragmented work streams, and basically science, health education, higher education, and health don't talk to much to one another, and that the joint structures that have been set up don't work very well. They point out the inefficient use of resources, shortfalls in both the quantity and quality, and relevance of health professional education and training for the health needs of the country, barriers to health professional student selection and success, and a disjuncture in many instances between training and practice. What I want to do in the next few minutes, how much time do I still have, Lionel? 3 minutes. So what I hope to do in 3 minutes is to share with you some of the findings of a pioneering cohort study that we started last year here at Wits, and my colleague Prudence de Klopo insisted that I share with you some of the findings. So it's called the Wisdom Study. Wisdom is a long acronym. I'll tell you during my injury time what wisdom means. But the first part of the WI stands for WITS, Health Professional Cohort Study. And I think it's just interesting to kind of look at the demographics of our health professionals. So what is pioneering and revolutionary about wisdom is that it covers all the 8 professional groups that are currently being trained here at Wits University. So this is for the cohort as a whole, predominantly female, but what I want to draw your attention to is that 77% of the cohort, their father has tertiary education, around 13% were born in a rural area, and almost 1 in 2 of them went to a private high school. So we looked at a whole lot of issues, and there's an argument in the literature that if you have people who have inclination for altruism, they're more likely to stay in the public sector, and they're also more likely to work in rural areas. So we did a study which looked at, we did a component that actually measured altruism among the different cohorts, and the CA stands for Clinical Associates, DT Dentists, MD Doctors, NS Nurses, OT Occupational Therapists, OH Oral Hygienists, PH Pharmacists, PT Physiotherapists, and Black Bias Total. So you can't possibly read all of them, so I'll just show you. But generally the argument in economic experiments is that we're inherently selfish, and so if you give any money away, so we gave them real money and we asked them to divide it among themselves, and in the first instance just some general a fellow student. The second scenario was that they had to share it with a poor person, and the third one is that they had to share it with a patient. And so as you can see, they're generally more altruistic towards patients compared to general altruism. We also measured public service motivation, so you can see very high scores on public service motivation. And then the last thing is we looked at job intentions, and we asked them whether they plan to work in the public sector. Remember, all that we can do at baseline is just to measure their intentions, and we hope to monitor those intentions over a period of 15 years. So we are about to complete our first year of follow-up. And so you can see quite a high proportion that plan to work in the public sector. We think it's probably related to specialization, because that's the only place where you can do specialization. If you look at rural areas, only around 11% of them plan to work in rural areas. So in summary, some attraction to the public sector, but very few intention to work in rural areas. And as you can see, there's quite a wide variation across the different, the 8 professional groups. So what are the implications for training? We think it's around selection, the kinds of students that we select. Its implications around using a critical pedagogy, about people understanding what are the needs of children, interprofessional education, which doesn't happen much, although we talk about it, and then of course partnerships. The data around the causes of neonatal mortality certainly show that we also need to give more attention to quality services, the provision of quality healthcare services, teamwork, clinical effectiveness and audit and evaluation. And then lastly, it's around stewardship and leadership and training our graduates to be advocates to protect the vulnerable and to influence policy and of course advocate for social justice and equity. So I'm not going to deal with this slide, I'll leave it on the screen. All the panelists have been given this before the time, although they've only had one day to look at it. It's around how do we move beyond failing lip service. We've been in a lot of these fora where we've talked about transformative education, health professional education. So how do we transform student selection towards greater socioeconomic equity? How do we transform teaching methods and curricula? And how do we prepare graduates who are competent, understand the social determinants of health, and be critical thinkers and lifelong learners, and advocate for equity and social justice? So just to leave the acknowledgements, and then I'll move back to the slide for the questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Laetitia. What I'm going to ask is if we can leave the other slide before the last one. Just because I think it frames the terrain of the conversation. I think what's in this slide we will probably think about as we begin to answer questions. But I thought that this slide particularly gives us a way of thinking about the bigger problem, the bigger picture. So I think we leave that there. The next speaker is going to be Sadna.
Good afternoon, I hope you're awake after lunch on a Friday afternoon. My name is Sadna Balton. I'm the head of speech therapy and audiology at Baragwanath Hospital, and I'm also a member of our early childhood intervention work group in Gauteng. So I must admit, I did not see that slide, so I hope I'm going to be talking to it. But here goes. So we know that at least 43% of children under the age of 5 years in low and middle income countries are at risk for not achieving their potential. So children are already at risk, and how do we exacerbate and contribute to that problem? This risk is increased by the human resource challenges facing the health sector. So when we look at universal health coverage, it calls for adequate, skilled, and well-motivated workforce. It also calls for supply to meet demand. So when we talk about supply, the Minister of Health has called on institutions of higher education to increase the number of graduates. So I know for speech therapy and audiology, we've increased the intake and we extended the program with a new program just opening up this year. So we have more graduates. We also have community service, but what has happened over the past few years is that we have people being told, even for next year, that you do not have placement for 2019 for community service. I held interviews for one audiology post in June this year. I had about 18 applicants, of which 10 were unemployed post-community service. So there definitely is a problem. We have enough people, but leadership is lacking, funding is going into the wrong place because the need is definitely there. What else needs to happen is that our health workforce needs to be able to engage differently. We cannot use old methods of training moving into a new framework of service delivery. We need our health workforce to be able to engage in multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary work. And that set of vocabulary is not even known to many of our health workers. So in 2010, we started an early childhood intervention work group in Gauteng. We consist of varied professionals, and we've been running a number of workshops each year. And in our engagement with graduates, some of the things that came up from them is that they lack exposure and experience in working with a team. When they enter the workforce, it's sometimes the first time that they come across someone called a podiatrist and have no idea what it is that person does. So understanding the roles of other professionals, being able to respect the roles of other professionals, and also not looking at it only from the lens of what can you do to enhance what I do to make it better, but how do we share a common view for the best outcome for the child and the family? Curriculum planning at present happens in silos. Each department looks at it on their own, but we don't look at it in terms of what is an integrated curriculum that will impact on a healthcare workforce that serves the needs of this country. Another gap in training, especially in the area of early childhood intervention, is that there's very limited training and exposure and experience in terms of family-centered practice. We need to shift the thought from professional-centered practice to family-centered practice, but to our graduates have the skills to engage and form partnerships with families. Students are definitely needing more in terms of what are the underlying principles of early childhood intervention. Do we understand the various systems that impact on children and on families? So interprofessional education is one of the things we need to look at. Our Gauteng work group held a workshop last year where we pulled together various universities and professionals working in the field as well as rehab managers into one room to make them aware of this practice, but to date I don't think we've seen much change since then. We also need to understand how to work with different cadres of workers. So if I am a speech therapist, do I know how to work with a community health worker? Do I know what is expected of me? Also in terms of what is our ability to develop programs, to run programs, and to be able to monitor programs. We do not have enough knowledge in terms of program management as well as health economics. So when we look at training our healthcare workforce, it needs to be a much broader curriculum so that we are able to serve the need. But most importantly, without political will and commitment, we will not be able to progress beyond piecemeal and short-term solutions. Thank you.
Very much, Sadna. Thank you very much.
Chantell Witten from Mulaudzi University. I am speaking specifically, and we did not see the slide, so my perspective is particularly on how we build nutrition skills and competencies. And I'm talking from the fact that over the last 5 years, we've had a number of reviews in terms of how South Africa is doing. And we know that while infant mortality and under-5 mortality is decreasing, our nutrition indicators are increasing. So stunting is increasing. We have not seen a change specifically in the incidence of SAM. And so I want to add on what Sadna was saying about intersectoral and multidisciplinary training, specifically to build competency amongst frontline workers. Because many of you might know that there's a dietitian, but I think very few of you actually work with the dietitian within your teams.
what we're building into the profession is to look at a much more public health training, to work within teams, and to work with a solution-driven agenda. Not to just measure the problem, but to actually come with a solution. And I think for us as nutritionists and dietitians, what we have not done very well is market ourselves to the public health sector or the public sector. So our profession is very much a private sector based. Most of our graduates are in private sector, meaning that they are running their own little practices. Most of them are working in the large food corporations that you're seeing. And yet the skills and the competencies that we're trying to build is not benefiting the public. And for us, nutrition is core to health. So I'm not understanding also, a small study looked at what is being taught to the doctors, what is being taught to the nurses, and core nutrition elements are not there. One or two programs might have something like 6 lectures on nutrition. So for us, multidisciplinary, trying to build more appreciation that you cannot fix health if you don't fix nutrition. The other thing that we would like to do is to try and teach our students context specific. So we might train in a nutrition center where I am in Northwest, but when they are placed in community service, they might go to be Stabisa or Eastern Cape, and they've not been confronted with that. So our students come back with a very negative experience of ComServe. And if you do any evaluation, of course they will say, no, let's take away ComServe. It's a competency-based profession, so we do spend at least a year in terms of building hands-on practice, but that practice is still very much hospital-based. Since I've joined Northwest for the first, I've been there 4 years, we struggled to get our students out into the townships that surround the university. And it took a big mind shift for the faculty and the university to understand that bringing patients into the university is not the same as taking a profession into the household. Understand where our clients are. So I think a lot of what we want to do with transformative education is how we see the health system. We exist because there are patients. The patients don't exist because they are dietitians or doctors. And I think we need to start teaching that there. And then in terms of practice, we need to get out in teams. We work with community health workers, we work with the doctors at the clinics, we work with auto hygienists, but we don't impart the skills that we bring to the table. We just want to execute it. Where we should be actually working as a collective. So that's my vision.
PhD nursing, and I've been told I have to say that all the time, but in essence, I'm a nurse. And my tribe drive me mad, just like they drive me mad. So I'm starting with that as a disclaimer. The complex issues of nursing are so ingrained in I don't know what history, not only about that history, generational, colonial, military, all of those good things, packaged layers onto autocratic leadership styles, ticking off sheets, and uniforms that used to be very neat and white that have sort of degraded a bit. I'm not sure why we don't do those anymore. In terms of this context though, for the last 10 years, things have been really shifting in higher education. We know this. Well, at regulatory level they have. So from the SGB, standard generating bodies, we moved to professions and what the standard should be to professions, moved to looking at competency-based education at higher education level. Here's one of the big deals. Nurses traditionally trained in health. And then we had to have a divorce, but I'm not sure if a proper divorce. So still, the health department remains mostly responsible for training of nurses. And then education, thinking, higher education factors, the complexity of getting that regulatory framework together, especially in the last year and a bit, has been tedious to watch. To be inside it is complex. Everybody's recurriculating and decurriculating, and whether things are registered or not, and on what registers they are. We love words, can you hear? You go into the Nursing Council website and there are some registers that are called post-basic, Paediatrics, from what Laetitia to both interdisciplinary nutrition, children, conversations are about the way we fix it is not that different. In nursing, can I just say one piece that is significantly different? I'm very interested in Laetitia's not enough staff on duty. I need those numbers that say we really don't have less staff than we had. The nursing, the hospitals, the number of nurses per ward, things have shifted. I'm counting it. I did hear that nurses are taking currently sick leave. I said, but they're not sick, no, but the road. The circle, what is it, the 3-year cyclist? Now, there's a very deep-seated not enoughness in nursing. I don't understand it completely. I think it has to do with social status and where nurses sit in the team, the interdisciplinary team. And a lot of our work is unpacking that. I don't know whether I said I lead a child nurse practice development initiative. That really is trying to bring practice development and quality and education together. The work that we've been doing in the last 8 to 10 years is, apart from offering 3 postgraduate pediatric nursing programs, pediatric critical care, a master's program, is also working with children's nurse educators across the country. There are 8 programs, 8 universities and colleges that offer pediatric nursing. Those are often also the teachers that teach into undergraduate nursing. And the real difficulty with IMCI not being at undergrad level, of nutrition not being at undergrad level, of the things that we really in child health consider as absolutely basic, is often related to a very content-heavy curriculum. It's globally, when nurses come together to have conversations about education, we talk and know about heavy content-led, their dense curricula. The ways of fixing it, I totally agree with these guys. Interdisciplinary learning together, it's not completely cutting down our silos, but becoming more permeable. Transformative learning, we're really doing some work looking at how we do that, how we look at how we shift practice, how we train differently, and I think it's fixable, but it's completely linked with human resources for health and how we release nurses. That's a good one. It finished.
Right, so I'm here because Professor Mulaudzi was supposed to have been the representative of the medical profession, because clearly we're trying to get she unfortunately last minute to go to a funeral in Baragwanath, so that is why I stepped in. So I can claim I haven't had enough time to prepare, but that's not quite true, because this is what I spend all my time thinking about, so I should be able to talk about it. Okay, the good thing is because I had a blank slate, I can actually talk to this particular slide. And the question I will start off to try and deal with these 3 aspects is, are we producing good doctors in South Africa? The answer, I think, has to be yes. Okay. But the question is, why am I saying yes? How does one measure it? Well, the traditional measure over the many years is that our graduates are welcome around the world. They can go to most places, and most places usually means America or Canada or UK or Australia, and home they are. And that was true, that some of the best doctors in those countries have been from South Africa. Is it still true today? I think it probably is still true. And what distinguished us was, I think, a lot of our clinical abilities and skills. So in 2018, I think, if you look at the 9 universities around the country, we still produce an excellent doctor who clinically is still very good. I don't think as good as my generation. I think as good as, I don't think my generation was good as a generation before, but we're good enough to be able to hold our own in the world. The argument I've had with our medical school and my former dean of the teaching and learning is that our curriculum is not sufficiently South African. In other words, we produce these excellent international graduates, but they don't meet our need in South Africa. So what's the deficiency? Right, so let's go to the side. I think the selection, and that issue now I'm generalizing to 9 universities, 1,800 graduates, different curriculum, different styles. What we've recognized is since 1994, the programs in these medical programs in these 9 universities actually become more diverse. they're more uniform. They're doing things more differently than the same. Most of my experience is first. Probably about 3 minutes, right? So, transformative education. Yeah. Don't take my time, Lionel. Selection criteria, I think, throughout the country have changed. Wits, for example, now give something called 20% black, 20% rural, 20%. Some attempt to do some kind of selection change. I don't think it's a very good effort, but I think it's certainly an effort to try and bring a selection change. And I think we all recognize that choosing the right initiative is key. If one looks at critical pedagogy, I won't talk big words, I won't talk too much about that, but is the South African value child health needs sufficiently familiar with child health? Again, the answer for me has to be yes. I think from a knowledge perspective, the common conditions in South Africa, most practitioners know about it, and most practitioners can do about it. The problem is when we come down to the transfer, I'll come down to that in a moment. Interprofessional education, I think throughout all 9 curricula leaves much to be desired. There have been attempts. Lionel has been leading the efforts at first, and I think in most settings, there are some examples of good performance, but most settings, this is still cursory, not done to a particular issue. And in partnerships, particularly with community, again, I think very few examples of that. I'm going to leave the transformative because I think that for me is the main issue, but I believe we're having a second round of discussions. And I'll specifically say what do I think we need to do in those aspects to produce the kind of graduate we really need. So I'll come down to the last issue of stewardship and leadership. Our average medical student is sufficiently competent in advocacy. And I think most graduates leave their universities recognizing what are the key issues. I think most graduates have been exposed in their learning through the 4, 5, 6 years to what are the key issues in South Africa. And some of them are in fact passionate about it as well. They understand the need for accountability. But I think what I've experienced is that despite that understanding, when they get down into the field, and I often then meet them as interns at Prof service, the usual story is they get there, all passionate, all fired up. And when I first was there in January and February, it's about, got this problem with the lab, this is not happening in the wards, and I did this and I did that, Dr. Salucci. And then I get there in April and May and they're beginning to look a little bit more jaded. And by the time I go through the September visit, by that time they say, these are bad and I can't change it. I think they go through the process that all of us have gone through. It's they do go, there's trauma and advocacy, recognizing the need for accountability, but the system beats them. There's very little in how we teach them that offers them that resilience and offers them those kind of solutions they need, the transformative practice that enables them to do. So unfortunately for me, the kind of leaders I think at the end of the first year are dead, they in the system, they do the kind of things a lot of us do. Go, say no, and what have you. I don't think we do too bad on those issues. Last point, policy participation and influence. Again, I think on the whole we do a pretty good job. Not pretty good because that's Professor Rispel's area. Public health for most medical students is boring stuff. It's not relevant, it's lousy lectures, it's something in the future. I think most underappreciated. I think there's very few curricula that get people excited by public health. Most students know the policies. They perhaps are not so sure about what their role is and how they are supposed to influence this in the future. I think the reason, last point, they do that is because we give them lots of exposures. They all know the problems, whether it's malnutrition or whether it's nothing. They all know the social determinants. They can tell it to you. But what they don't know is what is their response to the situation. And the reason they don't know is because the teachers, me, often don't know what the right answers are. In our teaching, we can all highlight what the issues are. But I don't think we're sufficiently able to articulate what the solutions are, and particularly they as interns, graduates, what they should be doing in this circumstance. I'll come back to that in transformative practice, that's how we can change it. Thanks.
Keep in mind. But I think that what I'm going to try to highlight is what I've heard is a couple of the key issues which begin to address the last slide that Laetitia had left on the screen. I mean, one of the things that struck me quite powerfully, and I suspect the view, was the percentage of people whose parents had a postgraduate degree. That's quite a staggering figure at 77%. And I think that begins to talk to the selection issue. But what I'm hearing quite strongly from the panelists, and I'll open the conversation to you in a minute, is this question of interprofessional education or engagement across professions in the training of students. And then, one of the things that Sadna said about early childhood development, the fact that early childhood development is actually a health concept rather than a disease concept. And that all of our systems really teach to disease, because cure continues to trump anything else in the system, given the system that we're in. I thought that the people highlighted the idea that content is often emphasized over process. And that's an ongoing engagement in curricula across the professions, is this tension between filling people up with knowledge, but not always allowing them to understand the interactions of that knowledge with different contexts. There's a really good paper from Stellenbosch on the becoming of a doctor in a rural area, which they call the intersection between people, between the person, their participation, and the place in which they train. And so I thought that Harun's comment about the absence of real community collaboration in the development of curricula is still an absolute thing. Again, the question of tribes that came from the nurses, I think that's very much the thing that characterizes all of the health professions at the moment. But colleagues, I want you to engage now with the content that people have presented. What are your thoughts? What are the so what and now what questions that come up for you? With the view to how does this conference contribute to the discourse that goes forward? Rita? I think there are two microphones somewhere.
Hi, so I'm going to speak on behalf of both an undergraduate and a postgraduate health science educator. I educate across different disciplines, and I've been involved in the work that Sadna was talking about. I consistently find this disjuncture between training and practice, that they might get the content in class, but they have absolutely no concept of how to make sense of it once they're faced with the child and the family in practice. And I think that's the first barrier. Second barrier is the fact that it's interprofessional learning. We have no concept of how to work in teams. Exposing people to sensitization events or awareness days around this is what a dietitian looks like, this is a speech therapy. That doesn't amount to teamwork. Okay, and so I think we need to also transform our own thinking about what it is we mean when we talk about interdisciplinarity and interprofessional education. The other thing that strikes us very harshly with the first workshop we run in Gauteng every year, when we get largely com-service therapists, dietitians, podiatrists, psychologists in the province and nurses, is that for the very first time, a dietitian may have heard about child development, or an occupational therapist, and a physiotherapist, and a psychologist who have heard about nutrition and malnutrition. When in actual fact, anybody who's working with children today in South Africa should know about the health priorities of the country and how to deal with them at a child, health, and family level. I think we're far beyond the point of trying to address survival and thrive without having a common understanding about what our 5 key pillars are, which we've tried to encompass in the booklet for people. So I think that should try to frame our thinking going forward, that there's no reason why therapists and dietitians can't learn about IMCI in the same way that medical students and nurses do. That if we prioritize that as an entry point, the basic minimum that we need to understand about sick childcare, or wild childcare, whatever it may be, that's the minimum. The same around child development, same around nutrition, same around language difficulties, a whole host of things that we need to start unpacking. We cannot transform curriculum in silence. It's not going to work.
So can I make your points in bullets rather than in prose? Those are really important points. But please can we explain them to bullet points? There's a question here, and then in the middle, and then at the back there.
It's less a question and more of a comment. We've been running a child rights course for health professionals since 2011. So we've taken children's rights as the starting point for the conversation. And that does 2 things. One thing is it puts the child as a human being at the center of everything. It forces health professionals not to see a broken body, but to see a person. And once it does that, it changes everything. It creates a mind shift. It creates a heart change, out of which innovation can come. What it does is it rehumanizes us as health professionals. And because it's tied to a rights framework, it gives health professionals the tool to advocate both for individual patients and for the population as a whole. And we use that framework initially to ask health professionals to think about the ways in which they engage with children and their settings. How do they give effect to children's right to participate in decision making? How do we give patients a voice? How do we see them? How do we respond to their needs? And out of that, we started looking how do we redesign healthcare services so we create these child and family friendly models of care. And we follow our patients back home. We start to think about the context in which children live, who they live, their care arrangements, their living conditions. And we understand that as health professionals, we're one of a number of different service providers who are duty bearers. And so there's a much broader team that we're not talking about outside of health. We need to understand that framework too. So I think that when it starts to do with children's rights, that can create that transformative shift in consciousness and practice. And it's really nice to see more of that broader perspective integrated into both undergraduate, postgraduate, and in-service training.
Thank you very much for that. Mandy, I'm going to abuse the fact that you're the next questioner because you graduated at BITS at the moment where I think our zest for transformation was the best. So Mandy's class of 2006, the first year program graduate. So once you answered your question, you can just make a comment about whether you were prepared for the work that you're currently doing at that time.
Okay, that's another word. Thanks, Lionel. I'll do that. My name is Mandy. I'm from rural northern KwaZulu-Natal, if you need me. And so I feel relatively well positioned to talk to the slide about how few graduates want to go back to the rural areas at the end of their training. I'm the 5th year coordinator for the Paediatric rotation through our decentralized training site and have been for 3 years. So I just wanted to share with my board some of the positive experiences that we've had training students outside of the centre. The first part I love is the orientation, and their eyes widen and they realize that you can have a beautiful facility outside of the ivory tower that they know, and their eyes, this is so clean and it's so lovely. The second comment is always, people are so happy here. People in the rural areas when they work, they're not happy to be working compared to our experience in the city. And then at the end of the block, when they have to rate their experience, the comments that they make are that they feel teaching outside of the centre is less punitive, uses less humiliation tactics, they feel more part of the team, and I'm sorry for all my urban comments, and they feel that they get exposed to the multidisciplinary team around the bedside far more. And at the very end, we ask them just to write freely about their experience, and about 50% say, we'll see you back here, we're coming back. And so I do think decentralized training, not just in a rural block, not just to send them for 6 weeks of rural health or public health, but to send them away for pediatrics, orthopedics, psychiatry, to rotate outside of the big centers is a big way of promoting doctors coming back. And the second thing about when we interrogate them at the end of the block is I ask, why are you surprised that you have a good experience here? And this is where we need to work together as colleagues, which I may have just done quite badly, but they say that they get bad press about the rural hospitals when they're in the city centre. They said they expected a bad experience because when they're around the bedside and they hear that a patient's coming in from Queensland, everybody rolls their eyes and says, oh, another patient, what are you finding me? And I think that we're all guilty of that, of bad mouthing outside of main centres, and so students have this impression from very young. So how did my training of this? Wasn't my bullet point in the graduate entry medical program prepare me? I think we did have significant exposure to the multidisciplinary team. And like you guys said, it wasn't just physio and an OT coming to give an hour lecture and say what they do. We really worked with them, Alexander Clinic, or when we rotated that to the rural health block. And so a number of our classmates have been on the panel today, have chosen public health, have chosen rural health. And so I think it was a success story.
There was a comment points behind this process. Okay, mention in the middle of that.
I just wanted to take up the point Prof. Rispel said. Are we really paying lip service? The two questions I'm putting to the audience. One, has the trajectory of training really changed? How do you look at the medical trajectory? In internship, we intensify specialist focus, hospital-centric, curative care. Trajectory in my research has not changed at all. Now we're really changing the trajectory to what one countries in the international. The second point is this point that 71% of our health professional undergraduates came from homes where they found that need tertiary. Are we truly committed to what we are asking and what we think is we are transformed into our health professionals? We bring it in UKZN, information I read from UKZN, and there's been significant opposition to that. The opposition to the Cuban collaboration program has been so intense. But this is what we actually need for the country. Students from disadvantaged backgrounds who are focused on rural primary health care. But yet, the opposition from the health professional community has been the most intense. So in my estimation, and I like the opinions of everyone, are we truly ready for what we are asking or what we are wanting or what we are suggesting? Because that is the big ask that health professional education in South Africa really needs at this point.
I just want to make a comment about the UKZN experience. They're currently doing a project where the final years during their rural block actually live in a house in the community. And it's been fascinating to see how those communities have experienced the real benefit of motivating young people in those communities to suddenly see people like themselves or different at their age actually able to achieve. And apparently in some households, it's actually made kids go back to school in order to study again, which is quite a fascinating result. Go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Minette, and I'm graduate Coetzee Chantell. I thought I to do my work as a dietitian if I'm accepted into the team, and I don't have to spend my time fighting for my spot. Thank you.
I think that's a really important comment there. And then we'll come down again, and I'm going to ask the panelists to comment. Have you got a microphone already? Let's take that comment and you, the two of you can go.
I'll try bullet points. I'm not that good at it. So, I agree with much of what you said, but I think that in my experience and in teaching now, UCT, including pediatric registrar, it's very clear. Students do not get exposed to common problems. That's because they're taught in hospital. So there needs to be much more teaching at the primary care level and the community. I know the logistical challenges, but unless and until that happens, I'm afraid students will get a skewed view of what's common, what's most important, and what they need to do. The second and last point I'd like to make is, having come from pediatrics and gone into public health, I think I can see both sides. And it's true, public health in undergraduate curricula is boring, it's abstract. The only way to make it exciting is to teach it at bedside, or rather at primary care. So a kid comes in with infected scabies, for example. So what causes it? They have to know parasitology. What are the complications? They have to know streptococcal infection from scratching. What are the complications of that? Renal disease. How do you treat renal disease? And then, what are the social determinants of this? Have you asked the family about how crowded their household? How much water they have? Do they have soap? And so on and so on. That's the way that public health will come alive, and community child health will be taught. Thanks.
Okay, let me take these two comments as the last comments of this round.
Okay, my brothers. I think doctors are particularly guilty of being arrogant and not wanting to work in teams. Within the doctor community, there's a hierarchy of acceptance. So if you're a family family practitioner, you are on the bottom of the food chain. If you're a family practitioner working in a rural area, you're on the lowest rung. We don't only need to teach social content at universities. We need to be able to teach people to work on their own and teach professionalism. So in tertiary institutions, you've got a myriad of people checking and double checking, and are you here? And what happens when you go into smaller hospitals, we rely on people having to work by themselves. And sometimes that's not there, and people don't know how to do that. And then it seems as if we need far more people at primary healthcare level to supervise and mentor. And so there's no point in sending a whole lot of students or junior doctors into primary healthcare settings if we don't have someone just to guide and mentor. And so the health system needs to start thinking about how do you retain seniors, how do you incentivize your accommodation, your career, so that we actually have those people to nurture, to be able to learn at the bedside.
One bullet point is that I think we need to start thinking of other sectors as well. We talk about interdisciplinary learning within health, but if we don't understand what research work does, or how does TASA work, then there's no kind of problem solving at a practical level for child. So I would extend that interdisciplinary to intersectoral learning.
So colleagues, I'm going to ask the panel to make another round of 3-minute long comments, and then we'll come back to your comments. But I am going to ask you to pick up the conversations that have started in your comments. But particularly, if you can focus, one of the things that has emerged here is the professionalism and the tribalism of the profession. So what do we need to do to the teachers of pediatrics and child-related matters? So in your comment, we can just make a comment, because we're always talking about graduates being change agents, but we haven't quite addressed the teachers who are not quite change agents themselves. So you can take another round of comments. Yeah, you can comment, I'm sure. Where's the microphone?
So I'm not going I would love to respond to a lot of the questions and comments that people made, but I won't do that. I wanted to ask Lionel, maybe put you on the spot, Lionel. In your new capacity as the Dean at Soweto University, would you be willing to actually go it alone in getting all the professionals that are trained at that university to start in year 1 to have classes together within the first 6 months?
So this is not scoring pure brownie points. That's the conversation on the table at the moment. But in fact, the conversation is being driven by economic imperatives, by the fact that a common first year may be cheaper. The battle, as it was when I was here, is how much physics does a doctor or a nurse have to have? Because the commonness of the first year is around the quantitative sciences, as opposed to the professionalism more broadly. So it's a conversation we're having. But I think that we'll be quite prepared to do that. I would certainly want to push it substantially in the conversation. But not for physics, chemistry, and biology purposes, for other kinds of purposes.
I'm going to talk to your issue about the teachers. I think we spoke about attitudes from day one. And I think passion is hard to teach, but if teachers don't have passion about what they do, it's very difficult to instill that in students. I had students when I arrived at a lecture thank me for being on time. And then said to me at the end of the lecture, it's amazing to have someone talk to us in a way that they actually love what they do. And that struck me, is what is happening in the classroom. Are we actually making what we do sound worth it and give students an idea of where it fits into the bigger picture of the South African story? I also just want to put on the agenda that we need to also think about research. Research into models that brings all healthcare workers into one space. And to think about how do we do research, how do we do research together, and how do we show the benefits of this.
transformative teachers need to understand what they need to transform to. I think it's very difficult for teachers to be teaching something they don't know. And I've taught now at UWC, at UCT, and I'm at Northwest. It's very difficult for colleagues to conceptualize what it's like to live in a township, what it's like to live in a rural area. So when we are teaching, and I'm just talking about food, they reflect back on where they come from. And I think unless you are very open about the privilege that we have as teachers and as lecturers, and we are not willing to do the immersion that UKZN is doing, I think then we are going to miss the boat. I don't think you need to break your leg to be able to fix your leg. But I think you want to meet people where they are. You need to go where they are. And we are not expecting our teachers to walk the talk. So for me, I think that we need to bring the teaching home to the teachers first. And that would be a very nice research project to take teachers to where they need to take their students. And we need to walk that together.
Perhaps the extension of that is reliably expecting communities to be able to teach our students in a different kind of way. Minette?
So, I might rephrase that. I might say, reliably know that they are able to teach us. I think yesterday in a presentation that I did from some research we've been doing looking at where children get cared for well in hospitals. People who do caring of children well inherently believe that families can do this thing. They don't say we better go home visit and check off all the tick lists and how many bugs do they have. They are the clinicians that say, when you really need to take your child home, come and tell me and I'll take you. And the huge shift of that, and I think that's part of how we move there. So I have the immense privilege of running a unit inside the Department of Peds, but I'm a nurse. I can't tell you how miraculous the faculty. I've been told 3 or 4 times in the last 2 months that I'm out under governance. When I go, I don't understand, I'm out under governance. Because my governance is a pediatrician, not a nurse. And can you hear our thinking sounds like that? Why doesn't the head of nursing sign off on your, well, they haven't for 10 years. And I think that pediatrics particularly and child health, even though there's David Saunders below next to the red side, has always been the most welcoming to interdisciplinary work in my experience. Critical care, possibly, but definitely pediatrics. They walk the talk. We have in our Department of Peds nurses on the research committee, on the ethics committee, on the postgraduate committee, and it works. The other thing that really works, and I'm going to say a little bit about that in the presentation just later, the clinical master's students, the clinical masters in nursing students, do all their clinical training with the registrars and work on interdisciplinary teams. The shift that makes, because they get to know one another. They say, hang on, we all know how to sort this out. And they call him. Or I laugh at the way they know one another. It's a bit like they nurse registrars and doctor registrars. And they so understand the different contributions they bring. So I really advocate for that.
So colleagues, as Arun is finding his slide, the next round of comments are really about so what? What is the next step after this conference that we have to take in order to shift the game a little bit?
So I'll only 3 minutes slide. So I've got 2 big ideas about what needs to change. The first big idea is actually a failed experiment. It's taking on from the issue. If we recognize that the majority of our curricula, 90%, is going to be based at the health science faculty and in tertiary or maybe regional hospitals, the big change we recognize is we need to move out of our settings. The truth is, when we look, the slide is gone, but when we look at these competencies, we recognize that many of these competencies that Laetitia has picked up may be achieved if they were based there. There's no doubt that working with poor communities or dealing with teams may be more likely to happen in those settings. But a lot of these doesn't necessarily mean being out there intimately. So here's the first question I asked myself, that if the majority, 90% of medical school training can happen in tertiary centers and the medical school, how does one bring through many of these ideas? And we tried this 10 years ago at first, where we said, what's the approach to meeting all these needs? And the big idea was firstly using a Dutch model that says define your common problems. That was David's point. What are the 100 biggest problems that every medical graduate needs? And they developed this, and we could quickly replicate this and change South Africa. So it might be a red eye, or it might be otitis media, or it might be a stroke, or it might be a cancer of the cervix. That's not difficult to do because those are issues. The issue then is that medical students need to know that. But to take it one step further, the idea that we developed was that to bring these things for those 100 conditions, actually 150, for every one of them you should be able to answer 10 questions. And I haven't got time to go through it in detail, but let's take an example of stroke. It's a child malnutrition. If you had the stroke not at Baragwanath Hospital, but in Soweto Hospital in Limpopo, how would you manage that patient in a rural resource-poor setting with no CT scans or whatever? Okay, as an example. And that would be replicated for all 150. So how would you manage a child with severe malnutrition in a resource-poor setting? Taking on, for this particular condition, a red eye, what are the best guidelines? What do we say in South Africa about it? Okay, what are the roles of the different players? What's the role of a physiotherapist in stroke versus a dietitian versus whatever? What happens at the different levels of healthcare? What happens at the family practice level versus a tertiary center? How would we know this person is getting the best quality of care? What would be best quality of care for severe malnutrition or whatever? What's the best available evidence for that particular issue? The red eye. Once the patient is discharged, what represents ongoing care? What do we know about that condition, people's perception of red eyes versus severe malnutrition? And if there was messages to be communicated, what would those be? And finally, what's the public health? Now, this is not novel, because actually expertly saying that this experiment was taken one step further. We brought it down to this, and at first, we managed to convince every department, orthopedic, surgery, medicine, that they would include this in their book that the students got when they were doing their rotations. Okay, did it succeed? No, it didn't succeed. Why did it succeed? And my best explanation is that you can demand this of every condition, but can your teachers, Lionel's question, can your teachers teach these? Can the average physician teach how you manage stroke in a rural area? Can the average physician really give you good ideas of communication? And the truth is our teachers can't do this, and that's why the experiment failed. So your challenge, the real challenge, the negative part for me is, I don't think you can teach your teachers to teach that, because that's something you learn from having been taught. It's a very negative sentiment. In other words, you're trying to change your whole faculty, and I think that's the big barrier. So I'm a bit negative. Give me the half more minute. The other big idea. The other big idea is the whole change in internship and community service. And for me, the big idea is this concept, the big word, entrusted professional activities. But that for me is the step what we need to do at intern. So there's a number of skills intern needs. Let's say they need cesarean sections, suturing, physiotherapy, they need to how to integrate the neonate. But they go through internship now 2 years, maybe 1 year soon. But they do it and it's expected sometimes when they ex-community service. The big idea here, the last 15 seconds, is that the idea of entrusted professional activities, big word, is that someone during the internship has said, if we believe cesarean section is a key activity, has actually seen them doing that, seen them doing correctly, and certified, they say, okay. So the big idea is we define these, and we've had some attempt to do this in maternal child, saying these are the essential skills and activities that need to be certified. And you can't get into community unless you've got this entrustable profession. Someone has signed you as being competent. I think that's one approach of how we might be better able to take this idea that these core skills need to be part of the community service.
So colleagues, thank you very much for that. I disagree with the fact that the seed is one of those EPAs, but that's another story for another day. I'm going to ask you now, literally in one sentence each, and we'll try to get to as many people as possible in the next 5 minutes. One sentence for your next possible action in this area of work. We've heard about the ideas that are out there. We've heard about the teaching of faculty. In one sentence, can you say what you think the next step should be? And then we'll ask the panelists to close with about a minute's worth of input here. Anybody? Any take? There's one here, two people, one sentence. So we need to take a deep breath and think about it again. Just one sentence.
Understanding is important because when those students get into the college, you will find out they act as if they are from outside. They can't even read the original card. They can't interpret anything from this card. So you have to start afresh.
So can I summarize your comment as being bringing the learning closer to the practice?
Yes.
Okay, next
mentoring as well as
okay, next slide.
Thank you. So Martins, the Nursing College Editor, Eastern Cape. Mine basically is on a concern with regards to the retention of the health professionals, concurring what has been presented with by Prof on the slides. Quickly, it's basically maybe an advice to the national department to look into the issue of how best can we incentivize these health professionals to retain them within these rural areas. And lastly, looking into the issue of strengthening leadership at rural health institutions, primarily your primary health care institutions.
Thank you. There was Jenny, you've spoken before. Can I just go and ask a couple of other people first? Just speak from there now. I'm worried that we take too much time moving the mic and not speaking.
Afternoon, everyone.
Maybe just the sentences, right?
Okay. I just would like to talk to the question that says how can we produce clinically competent practitioners. Mine would be to say, and I will talk from a nursing perspective since I'm a nurse. Mine is to say we need to bring back preceptorship. That is something that we have taken away somewhere in those years, and it is something that was working so well for us as nurses. And also we need to ensure that people that are lecturing nurses, they are also competent. Because you cannot take somebody who has just qualified yesterday and you want to make them a lecturer. What is it that they're going to teach them?
So you're saying that faculty development is a key part of what you need?
Yes.
Next person next to you.
Thank you. I'm not Sola from Eastern Cape. I'm from the rural district of Atambo.
Okay.
We are unable to attract doctors there, especially in the district hospitals and the community health centers. Well, because of various factors. But what I want to talk to now is that it would be better if the training of our South African doctors can balance the hospice-centrism with the PhD and community medicine. Because I don't know whether the reason why they don't want to stay in our rural community health centers and hospitals. Is it because their knowledge is more to hospitals that are on the area?
You say balance for hospitals and training?
I think the curative in hospital.
Okay, thank you.
And the community and PhD medicine.
And we take there's a new waste there, just 2 rows behind you, is that right? And then one there, Jenny, you will speak from where you are between the mic and the mic.
Hi, I'm Dr. Smiley. I'm a pediatrician on this. I just want to say that we should change the way we choose medical students. So you're very good at maths. I don't think it should be such a big factor. I think we should change where we train them. If you put them in a big hospital, in a big city, we actually are expecting them to go to a rural area and work, and that's unreasonable. And the last thing is I actually question why specialists should actually train undergraduates.
Okay.
I'll keep short. I should advocate for integrating PAC into pre-service.
and PAC. So PAC is a practical approach to care.
Oh, okay.
And to facilitate a shift in paradigm from an all-knowing to all-learning concept.
And that's been an attempt as part of the National Movement to prepare for the return of the students training given. Jenny, then we'll take one more comment, and then I'll ask the panel to finish in a minute each.
I think we must work on multidisciplinary, sectorial, decentralized learning platforms where students are based outside and they kind of rotate into your tertiary hospitals. They do blocks in the tertiary and regional where they are based out at decentralized learning sites, which means the lecturers need to go and spend time there and do ward rounds and support them.
Okay. Last comment.
Just job creation. I think there's a lot of especially multidisciplinary people out there that are unemployed for long periods of time and then resort to going to private because you want to work in government, there's opportunities are there.
I mean, that speaks to the human resources for health plan that Laetitia had raised right at the beginning. Colleagues, I'm going to ask you, because we've literally got about 5 minutes left, to make 1 minute comments each. So they start. Just make sure that the green line is on.
What most struck me was Laurie saying that we need to understand that we are duty bearers and how we bring children into the space of learning. So that's something I'm taking back with me again as new awareness and a remembering. I also want to just say that we absolutely have to get to person-centered care. We have to understand that learning takes place in the context of relationship. And all of us have relational professions, not only knowledge professions.
That's so interesting because I say that we need to train system thinkers who are able to engage in relationship-focused service delivery within a model of interprofessional practice.
All right. So I'm going to appeal, restate Minette's issue that she's not here to articulate. And that's the point in this association, we have this multi-sector that probably very few others have. And I think Minette's plea is in curriculum. There are some poor child health issues, and she used the example of IMCI, but there's many others that every discipline needs to know. And that we are the people who can perhaps, one, identify what those issues are, but then take the battle up to the nursing, medical, and others who say this is the cause. I think that really mustn't be lost. I think that's one of the tasks of the association.
As a nutritionist and as somebody coming from child health nutrition, I think that it's important that we build nutrition into any curriculum. There are basic things that every health professional should know, and I think that we should start with the lecturers first.
Okay, so I'll try and be a minute. Just Mandy, you raised the issue of course I couldn't present all the findings, but students that were, or candidates, doctors, or health professionals that were born in rural areas were 5 times more likely to indicate that they will return to rural areas compared to those not born in rural areas. So I think selection is, we need to keep working on that. My colleagues have already talked about the curriculum, but there is another challenge of what I think can be done that I want to put to the association and the new executive that's coming out. It's through almost all the professions have to register with the council before they can practice. And that is another important lever. If you can get a requirement of certain whether it's public health skills or whatever you want, then that would be an important lever for intervention. You actually make it a requirement prior to registration, and 80% of the battle will be won.
So colleagues, just in conclusion, I think the 3 big issues that you've raised, and that's come out with the last comment by Laetitia, and they're all issues that have been raised by the ASAP consensus report. The question of common competencies across disciplines, the concept of interprofessional teaching and creating spaces for collaborative practice, and this really crucial idea of preparing the trainers to educate sufficiently. But let me conclude by saying that I'm so glad that I came, because I think the conversation has kind of galvanized me a little bit in terms of the key issues that we have to address in training the students and the professionals of the future. Thanks very much for your participation, and thanks to the panel for